tell us it was someone else's fault. But this president cannot tell us that you're better off today than when he took office.
Colorado is not better off under President Obama. Obama's excessive government regulations are crushing job creators. Thousands of jobs have been lost. Thousands more are threatened. Obamacare, his war on coal, natural gas and oil, and the failed stimulus have hurt Colorado. Colorado is a state of business builders, but under Obama, businesses are afraid to locate here. We need an environment where entrepreneurs can flourish. The Romney Plan for Colorado? Mitt Romney will repeal Obamacare, eliminate excessive regulations, foster innovation, and create over 200,000 new jobs for Colorado.
I'm Mitt Romney. I'm running for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Romney for President, Inc.
The Beth Messiah Congregation invites you to come and experience a Messianic Roots biblically-based congregational fellowship as we observe God's Shabbat in Messiah Yeshua. Praise and worship services begin at 10:30 a.m., followed by an Oneg Shabbat meal, mid-Rosh, and fellowship. Beth Messiah Congregation is located at 8333 Acoma Way in North Denver. You can find out more information by calling 1-800-205-6245. Everyone's welcome, so join us this Shabbat. And Shabbat Shalom, good Sabbath.
Bob Dylan has a new album out. It came out on September 11th. It's called Tempest. It's his 35th studio album. It's got some great songs on it, and I heard a lyric today that stopped me in my tracks. It stopped me in my tracks because it speaks to us here in America and around the world and seems to encapsulate the situation that we're facing today. As bankers tighten their grip on our economies, Muslims worldwide go forward with their plans for global jihad, the next election looms, and Israel faces nuclear holocaust. What was it that Bob Dylan sang? It's now or never, more than ever. My name is Howard Riell, and this is Real Truth. You're listening to the American Freedom Network, streaming live around the world at AmericanNewsNet.com, and on Facebook and on YouTube, and in the book Real Truth, Stay Angry. And, of course, as always, broadcasting out across the Colorado Front Range on KHNC, Johnstown, Colorado, 1360 AM The Lion. Our call-in number 877-254-7524. Item from the Activist Post. On ABC's This Week, George Will, columnist for the propaganda news outlet Washington Post, spoke out against Ben Bernanke, chairman of the Federal Reserve, and his decision to instill QE3, which is essentially the government printing money. Will pointed out that this latest move is covert trickle-down economics where citizens are forced to invest in equities in order to continue to prop up the economy to perpetuate the false sense of reality the American public lives under. Last week, Bernanke announced that the Fed would purchase $40 billion per month in toxic assets called mortgage-backed securities. While this scheme will devastate the U.S. dollar's value by the very act of printing more money, there's a secret bailout of certain financial institutions occurring under the radar. QE3 serves as a, quote, regressive redistribution program, unquote, for the banksters who are enjoying a surge in their wealth under current economic conditions. The Federal Housing Finance Administration recently announced that strategic defaulters, that is, those homeowners who have abandoned their mortgage because they could not continue to make the monthly payments, will be jailed for this, quote, crime, unquote. Two sets of laws in America today, my friends. If you don't like it, do something about it. Item from the Associated Press, Dateline, Washington. The United States is planning to sell 8 AH-64D Apache helicopters to Indonesia. Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton says the sale will strengthen the U.S.-Indonesian partnership and improve efforts to maintain security in Southeast Asia, unquote. My friends, Indonesia, as you may know, is home to the largest population of Muslims on planet Earth. It doesn't surprise me to see a grinning jackass like Hillary Clinton saying that this sale is good for America. First of all, it ain't. Second of all, I have a question. And again, as usual, it's a stupid question. America's a pretty big country. We got a pretty big economy. We make a lot of things. Are weapons really the thing we want to be selling to countries with huge Muslim populations? Are we really, as we're poised to go further into the 21st century, are we really comfortable with being the number one arms dealer in the world? Question: do countries pay for weapons just to let them sit and collect dust? What do you say we envision a different America? What about an America that's the supplier to the whole wide world of technologies that make life better? Technologies that end ignorance, end hunger, end disease, create jobs, create wealth. Or we can just sell them guns. Item from Infowars.com. A leaked training manual used in the state and local anti-terrorism training, that's SLATT program, for law enforcement and funded by the Department of Justice lists political bumper stickers expressing opposition to the United Nations and support for the Bill of Rights as indications of terrorist activity. The presentation documents leaked to the Public Intelligence website are entitled Terrorism Training for Law Enforcement and are marked Law Enforcement Sensitive. The program is funded by grants from the Department of Justice's Bureau of Justice Assistance. Slides for the presentation depict the kind of behavior that law enforcement officers should be wary of in spotting potential terrorists during highway patrols. One of the slides, entitled Fourth Amendment Issues, notes that, quote, a suspicious map located on the passenger seat, unquote, could warrant further investigation as a potential indicator of terrorism. Stop! My friends, let's not get too extremely stupid. I have gone 54 years on this planet living with a lousy sense of direction. If I'm driving somewhere, I may indeed have a map on the seat next to me. Nice to know I now also have a target on the back of my head. We'll continue. Another slide entitled General Right-Wing Extremist depicts suspicious bumper stickers that should warrant further investigation by cops conducting traffic stops. The bumper stickers read, know your rights or lose them. If you love your country, the UN is not your friend. And get us out of the UN, United Nations, unquote. Well, my friends, I can see why wanting people to know their constitutional rights would certainly make you an enemy of the state. Jumpin' Jehoshaphat. Under the category of special interest single-issue terrorism, the slide characterizes people who hold political opinions that, quote, represent a fairly popular point of view, unquote, as terrorists. Anti-abortion activists are also listed as terrorists under this category. Another slide lists people who are, quote, anti-genetic engineering, unquote, as terrorists. Presumably that includes people who are concerned about a new study which found that rats fed with genetically engineered Monsanto corn suffered premature deaths. Apparently, the Department of Justice considers Americans who have a good grasp of the Bill of Rights are concerned about the food they eat, those who politically oppose the United Nations, and even those who hold, quote, fairly popular opinions to be likely terrorists. Perhaps the Department of Justice is drawing inspiration from the Department of Defense, which in 2009 characterized the First Amendment right to protest as, quote, low-level terrorism, unquote. My friends, are you terrorists? Are you sure? Are you positive? Well, that was an easy one. Here's a harder one. Will a cop looking at you and your car think that you're a terrorist? That's a much more interesting question, isn't it? And a much more dangerous and disturbing one. In the name of God, it's Thursday. This is Real Truth. Go nowhere.
And let us consider one another in order to stir up love and good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as is the manner of some, but exhorting one another, and so much more as you see the day approaching. This is Pastor Michael Golden. My wife Danny and I would like to invite you to join us at the Voice of Many Waters congregation for a Mikra HaKodesh, a holy convocation. Every Saturday, Shabbat, at 1 p.m. at 3J's Christian Coffee House, 21 North Parish Avenue in Johnstown. We'll be having praise and worship, fellowship, midrash teaching and study time, followed by an oneg. Check out our website at www.voiceofmanywaters.org. That's voiceofmanywaters.org. Or call us at 1-303-522-3562. Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful.
11 years ago, when my uncle started the Patriot Trading Group, gas was 75 cents a gallon. We were running an alleged budget surplus, and the total national debt was $5 trillion, and the government was forecasting the debt would be eliminated by 2010. And I thought my uncle was a wacko with tinfoil on his head, while I owned tech stocks certain to become a millionaire before the millennium rolled over. Since then, the debt has doubled, jobs are heading overseas, and 100,000 people have joined Eric with tinfoil on their heads. I'm Joe Jaquin, Vice President for the Patriot Trading Group, and as gold and silver have doubled and even tripled during the first 11 years, the issues facing this country over the next 11 years look far worse. Call the Patriot Trading Group at 800-951-0592. We offer all forms of gold, silver, platinum, and palladium, shipped and delivered at the most competitive prices in the country. Call us, 800-951-0592, or check out our website at allamericangold.com. And remember, you don't need to have tinfoil to own gold and silver.
My friends, one of the last places you want secrecy is in the White House of the United States of America. Tragically for us, we've got secrecy aplenty in the White House. This is a video that you will find linked on my Facebook page. You'll find it on YouTube. Headline says, "Breaking Claim. Obama hid his gay life to become president. Documented report." This is from P.P. Simmons, YouTube News. Let's listen.
In a blockbuster revelation, Dr. Jerome Corsi with WND.com is reporting that Chicago's homosexual community claims that Barack Obama's participation in the gay bar and bathhouse scene in Chicago was so well known that many who were aware of his lifestyle were shocked when he ran for president and then finally won the White House. Kevin Dujan, who was a gossip columnist in Chicago for various blogs when Obama was living in the city as a community organizer and later as a state senator, said, "It was preposterous to the people I knew then to think that Obama was going to keep his gay lifestyle a secret. Nobody who knew Obama in the gay bar scene thought he could possibly be president." Dujan claims that he has first-hand information from two different sources that, quote, Obama was personally involved in the gay bar scene. Obama, Dujan said, is not heterosexual, he is not bisexual, he is homosexual. Investigative journalist Wayne Madsen, who worked with the National Security Agency from 1984 to 1988 as a Navy intelligence analyst, confirmed Dujan's claims. Quote, "It is common knowledge that in Chicago's gay community that Obama actively visited the gay bars and bathhouses in Chicago while he was an Illinois state senator." If this information is correct, maybe the revelation explains this video clip which P.P. Simmons reported on about 6 months ago.
I know you want me working on jobs and the economy and all the other issues that we're dealing with. But my commitment to you is unwavering even as we wrestle with these enormous problems. And while progress may be taking longer than you'd like as a result of all that we face, and that's the truth, do not doubt the direction we are heading and the destination we will reach. You will see it.
By the way, folks, when you're watching this video, you'll see words coming across the screen explaining that here Obama is speaking to a gay and lesbian audience.
Time in which we as a nation finally recognize relationships between two men or two women as just as real and admirable as relationships between a man and a woman.
At a certain point, I've just concluded that, for me personally, it is important for me to go ahead and affirm that I think same-sex couples should be able to get married.
Perhaps this clip and this report by Dr. Jerome Corsi also explains why Obama refuses to enforce the federal law Defense of Marriage Act, why he and Joe Biden recently proclaimed that gay marriage was just as sanctified as a marriage between a man and a woman, and perhaps it explains why the U.S. military is now engaged in gay pride celebration.
My friends, here's why I'm playing this video for you. I'm not trying to bash gays, and I'm not saying anything negative about gays. I'm talking about secrecy in the White House. That's what I said at the beginning. If Obama's gay, then he's gay. That's not my business. But don't you dare run for the highest office in the land, hiding and obfuscating and sleight of handing and just plain out lying about who and what you are. If, Mr. Obama, you're gay, then say it. Be proud of it. If you're a Muslim, say it. Be proud of it. If you're a puppet of the power elite, say it. I'm not so sure you'd be proud of that. But be honest, my God. Politicians, used car salesmen, snake oil salesmen. What do we accept in this country? Why do we accept crap like this in this country? Let's move on because I'm disgusted. Judge Andrew Napolitano is on the Varney Show. As usual, you know, I love to play clips from Judge Napolitano. He's talking about Congress having the power to object to a proposed regulation. Oftentimes, lawyers, regulators, lawmakers don't even read them. Here's Stuart Varney. Here's Judge Andrew Napolitano.
Long time, that is a long list of new rules that's crippling small business. We call it Regulation Nation, not just because it rhymes, because it's real. Here are the numbers. Since President Obama took office, 11,327 pages have been added to the Code of Federal Regulations. And those regs come with a cost, $488 billion a year. That's according to the American Action Forum. All rise. The judge is here. His name is Andrew Napolitano. Judge, welcome. Thank you, Stuart. There's nothing wrong legally or constitutionally with new federal regulations, is there?
Well, there's nothing wrong legally because the Congress has created these administrative agencies, like, say, the EPA or the Federal Aviation Administration. Constitutionally, there's a great dispute about whether Congress can delegate its core function, which is to make law, because these regulations, once they are promulgated in the Federal Register, which means a bureaucrat has written them and the White House has signed off on them, once they appear in the Federal Register for 30 days, if they're not vetoed by both houses of Congress, then they become law.
Okay, wait a second. So what you're saying is Congress should pass a law which is full, absolutely full. No rules and regulations to be written separately. No, it's right there, and that's what you vote on.
Well, you see, the Constitution says all, I'm emphasizing the word right tone of voice, all legislative authority herein granted shall be vested in a Congress. Justice Scalia has argued, and I agree with him, that means that the Congress cannot give away to some other body legislative authority, which is the ability to write law. So when the EPA comes up with a regulation about how many particles per billion can be harmful, or when the FAA says if you spill some oil on a tarmac at an airport, you got to clean it up within 30 seconds. If the Congress doesn't veto those, they have the same force of law as if written by the Congress.
But they must have been challenged 100,000 times on the constitutional basis.
Well,
and you've lost every time.
Very, very good question. When the Congress wrote this Administrative Procedures Act, which lets these administrative agencies do this, it gave them such discretion that the only way the courts can interfere with this rulemaking by these administrative agencies is when that discretion is abused. That is a very high standard for the challenger of the regulation.
It's a subjective statement, too, isn't it?
Precisely. The other problem is, as you pointed out in either your tease or your intro, Congress doesn't read these regulations.
Right.
If Congress doesn't like what the EPA is doing, Congress can undo it. But let me finish. If Congress doesn't know what the EPA is doing because they're too lazy to read the regulations, we'll all suffer.
This is my hot-button issue, because if these people are working for us, how can they pass something that they haven't read and that they can attest that they know what's in there and we're supposed to follow?
I love your Jeffersonian attitude. They are working for us in our minds, not in their minds. In their minds, they tell us how to live and they tell us what to do.
So how do we change that? I mean, how do we get the American people to rise up and say enough is enough? We're paying for you. You work for us. You need to do
You elect people like Stuart Varney to the United States Senate.
Well, how do I come into this?
Are you running?
Come on, John, get it.
When the Supreme Court gives the power, this is what the Clean Air Act, to create an agency that supersedes Congress. How do you get around that? In other words, the Supreme Court has essentially has given the EPA supersized power now that it overrules Congress.
Okay, it is the Congress has allowed the EPA to do this, and the Supreme Court has declined to interfere. You make a great point, and the EPA is a great example, because the EPA under President Obama promulgated regulations that showed up in the Federal Register, sat there for 30 days. The Congress and the House didn't object, so then they went into the Code of Federal Regulations and became law.
But can they even object? That's the point. Can they object?
Those very regulations had been rejected by the Congress.
So they don't have any power. The Congress has no power over the EPA.
They do if they were willing to exercise it. They lack the will and they lack the discipline to understand what the EPA is doing.
Out of time. A good one, though. Jeffersonian Carol Roth. Excellent stuff. All right. Thank you, Judge.
I'm not the only one in the building.
No, you're not. All right, everybody. My take on the...
Interesting. If I was asked to describe that young woman, Jeffersonian is not the word I would have used. But who cares about the word I would have used? Let's move on. Item from the Associated Press. Dateline, Trenton. New Jersey motorists have another reason to frown about their driver's license photos. The state has banned motorists from making big smiles because such expressions don't work with facial recognition software. The policy has gone mostly unnoticed since taking effect in January. Stop. Now governments are telling us we may not smile. Or if we can smile, we can't smile too much. My friends, what does it take? What does it take to wake us up out of our lethargy and say, enough? And say, I will never vote for another politician unless he swears to cut the amount of government regulation, the amount of laws, the size of government, the intrusiveness of government. What the hell are we, the American people, waiting for? Item from the Washington Examiner. Current federal regulations, plus those coming under Obamacare, will cost American taxpayers and businesses $1.8 trillion annually, more than 20 times the $88 billion the administration estimates, according to a new roundup provided to Secrets from the Libertarian Competitive Enterprise Institute. And that number could grow, warned the author of the report, Clyde Wayne Cruz, a CEI vice president. Complying with Health and Human Services Department requirements alone, he revealed, costs $184 billion a year, yet regulators are still drafting the rules for the 2,400-page Obamacare law that kicks into gear in 2014. Cruz has made a working project of his tip of the Costberg report, which he regularly updates. In it, he compares the cost of regulations estimated by federal agencies to a much broader list of estimates from multiple federal and independent sources. And even then, he said, it doesn't include hard-to-calculate costs associated with antitrust intervention, regulation of electricity networks, or the cost of constrained access to natural resources. While OMB officially reports amounts of only up to $88.6 billion in 2010 dollars, said Cruz, the non-tax cost of government intervention in the economy without performing a sweeping survey appears to total up to $1.806 trillion annually. But, he added, according to back-of-the-envelope surveys and roundups with gaps big enough to fit the Beltway through, that's up to $1.806 trillion annually, and many categories perhaps even considerably more, is a defensible assessment of the annual impact of the economy, unquote. His estimate is close to the $1.7 trillion estimate from the Small Business Administration, which the White House distanced itself from. For comparison, the total U.S. GDP is $15 trillion. My friends, when you get a statistic from the government, disregard it, double it, triple it, quadruple it. Because governments lie, our government lies more than most because it's bigger than every other government. Item from InfoWars. Our country is being taken over by sustainable development under an environmental guise to mask a stealth takeover by bankers imposing a control grid upon the population. InfoWars nightly news reporter Aaron Dykes and Melissa Melton investigate the local initiatives driving the spread of, quote, sustainable communities now taking over central Texas and driving its population into a containment grid under the guise of smart growth and other such measures. The InfoWars team visits several local meetings working to inject sustainable principles into the region, confronting bureaucrats who deny any connection with or sufficient knowledge of the UN's Agenda 21, while Melissa Melton interviews an urban design and landscape architecture professor at the University of Texas who teaches a class on Agenda 21. What's behind these sustainable community grants implemented federally through Obama's Partnership for Sustainable Communities and locally through NGOs including the ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability, and a consortium of regional boards and environmental funds? Research shows it's little more than a takeover of both metropolitan and rural sites via heavy-handed planning techniques and deep connections to Rockefeller/UN interests, unquote. My friends, are you living your lives? Do you get up in the morning, take care of your kids, get dressed, pay your mortgage, go to work? That's why we don't know what the hell these elitist big shots behind the scenes are doing. They don't spend their days making family life. They spend their days plotting against us.
When you focus on doing one thing right, odds are you end up with something really right. At Ram, we only build trucks with legendary engines like the Hemi V8 and Cummins diesel, and a 5-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty that beats the Ford F-150 by 40,000 miles. We may never be called a jack of all trades, but that's okay, because we're the masters of one. See for yourself at Ram Power Days. See your local Ram dealer today and get $7,700 in total values on the 2012 Ram 1500 Bighorn Crew Cab during Ram Power Days. See dealer for details and a copy of limited warranty. Values include $3,200 Bighorn package discount and $4,500 cash allowance. Package values based on combined value of individual package items. Residency restrictions apply. Offer ends 10/1. Cummins is a registered trademark of Cummins, Inc. Ram and Hemi are registered trademarks of Chrysler Group, LLC.
And let us consider one another in order to stir up love and good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as is the manner of some, but exhorting one another, and so much more as you see the day approaching. This is Pastor Michael Golden. My wife Danny and I would like to invite you to join us at the Voice of Many Waters congregation for a Mikra HaKodesh, a holy convocation, every Saturday, Shabbat, at 1 p.m. at 3J's Christian Coffee House, 21 North Parish Avenue in Johnstown. We'll be having praise and worship, fellowship, midrash teaching and study time, followed by an oneg. Check out our website at www.voiceofmanywaters.org. That's voiceofmanywaters.org. Or call us at 1-303-522-3562. Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful. And of his fullness we have all received, and grace for grace. For the law was given through Moses, but grace and truth came through Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. No one has seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 16.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution
Truth, Howard Riell presiding. My friends, do you know exactly and precisely what QE3 is? Well, I don't either. That's why I'm going to play this video. It's some guy on TV, Ben Swan. He does a TV show called Reality Check. He's going to tell us what QE3 means and especially what it means to us. Listen.
By national media, but a major event took place late last week. One that will have a massive effect on the money in your wallet, your ability to buy goods and services, and ultimately, your future. It's something called QE3, and tonight, what it means for you. This is a reality check you won't see anywhere else. Let's start with what QE3 even means. QE, it's short for quantitative easing. The 3, because since the Wall Street mess of 2008, there have been 2 other attempts at quantitative easing by the Federal Reserve. So let's take this one step at a time. What is quantitative easing? The most simple way to explain it, most Americans know of only one economic theory. It's called Keynesian theory. The idea is that when the economy is slow, the government or central bank must stimulate it. And one way to do that is for the Federal Reserve Bank, which is a private bank, not a branch of government, orders the printing of new money and lowers interest rates. That is quantitative easing, leveling out drops in the market. By putting that money into the economy, Keynesian theory says that people will start spending, banks will start lending, people will borrow, and the economy will get back to humming along. That is Keynesian economic theory. So, if we're talking about QE3, doesn't that mean there have been 2 other forms of quantitative easing since 2008? Well, yes. The first round of quantitative easing came in late 2008 under President George W. Bush. In order to resolve the housing crisis, the Fed initiated purchases of $500 billion in mortgage-backed securities. Because remember, bad mortgages were the problem, right? In late 2008, the Fed cut the key interest rate to near zero, QE1. A year later, Bernanke was at it again, though. QE2 was different from QE1. Under QE2, from November of 2010 to June of 2011, the Federal Reserve went to work buying up $600 billion in U.S. Treasury bonds to spur the economy. But again, it didn't work. But since QE2 funds didn't fuel economic growth in the U.S., what did they do? Well, it put additional cash reserves in European banks. During the QE2 funding period, cash reserves of foreign banks grew from $308 billion to $940 billion. The same amount as the increase in the Fed's reserve balance. So, let's be clear. QE1 printed money, gave it to banks to fix the mortgage crisis, but it didn't work. The average person wasn't helped, but banks got billions of dollars. Then QE2 printed money, gave it to foreign banks to spur the economy, and it didn't work. But European banks got billions of dollars. I bet you can guess what QE3 does. To start with, we really shouldn't call it QE3. We should more correctly call it QE infinity. Because while other quantitative easing efforts had ending points, this one does not. Last week, Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke announced the Federal Reserve will purchase $40 billion a month in mortgage-backed securities indefinitely from financial institutions. They will also keep interest rates at 0% until at least 2015. So how will this help you? It won't. Borrowers won't see any help from this, but the profit will go to, guess who? The banks. So what you need to know is that there's no evidence that QE anything will create jobs, encourage lending, borrowing, or spending. The last 4 years have proven that. But there is a hard truth here. The Federal Reserve Bank, through Bernanke and under Keynesian theory, believe that they have to keep printing currency and giving it to banking institutions and keep interest rates near zero in order to hide how massive our debt is. The hard truth, the other economic school of thought called Austrian economics says it will all crash. But the longer the Federal Reserve Bank keeps prolonging corrections in the market that have to happen at some point, the more pain there will be. QE3 or QE infinity, whatever you want to call it, just means that day of reckoning, which is coming, will be all that more severe when it gets here. And that is Reality Check.
Well, that's Reality Check, all right. That's reality biting the world on the ass. And whose fault is it? You're saying it's the bankers? Well, yeah, of course. It's ours, too. We're not stupid. We know that we've been pushing off the day of reckoning and living on borrowed time as well as borrowed money. We figured we'd just keep kicking the can down the road. Well, guess what? We've reached the end of the road. Item from South Carolina Senator Jim DeMint. I quote, U.S. Senator Jim DeMint released a new staff report called Profits Over Principles, How AARP Wins When Seniors Lose, that examines how AARP profits at seniors' expense. The report includes new research showing how AARP would lose billions of dollars if Obamacare is repealed or Medigap reforms are passed. AARP secretly lobbied against bipartisan Medigap reform during last year's debt supercommittee negotiations, which would have lowered costs on seniors but lowered AARP's profits by $1.8 billion while hiding that information from their members. The report also explores the group's ties to the Obama administration and Democratic Party. It details the numerous mandate exemptions in Obamacare that Medigap insurance received, a market AARP happens to dominate. The Department of Health and Human Services has also repeatedly shielded AARP from new health insurance regulations and government oversight. AARP's actions show they're more worried about their own bottom line than what's best for seniors, said Senator DeMint. AARP helped pass Obamacare even though it was opposed by their retiree members, but blocked bipartisan reform that would help reduce costs on seniors. AARP is not a nonpartisan or independent group. They make billions of dollars from health insurance and work closely with Democrats to protect their business profits. Congress should take a close look at AARP's questionable sales tactics and treat them with the same skepticism as other billion-dollar companies in the health insurance industry when they weigh in on legislation, unquote. My friends, if you are members of AARP, you need to know what the hell they're up to, because it's very possible that their goals and their aims and their interests do not coincide with yours. Item from InfoWars. Homeland Security boss Janet Napolitano told a Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee hearing on Wednesday that a blatantly unconstitutional Obama administration executive order is, quote, still being drafted in the interagency process, unquote, and, quote, is close to completion depending on the few issues that need to be resolved at the highest levels, unquote. Obama will implement crucial elements of the surveillance state by executive fiat. The latest Obama executive order, he's issued 135 thus far, is a response to the failure of a cybersecurity bill to pass in the Senate. The Lieberman-Collins cybersecurity bill failed 52-46. Following the vote, Obama's press secretary, Jay Carney, said, quote, the president is determined to do absolutely everything he can to better protect our nation against today's cyber threats, and we will do that despite the will of the unquote, despite the will of the American people. So-called cybersecurity is a crucial element of the surveillance state. Cyber will overtake terrorism as the persistent, gnawing, constantly at us kind of threat and danger, said Ashton Carter, Deputy Secretary of Defense at a conference held in San Francisco in February. Unquote. My friends, this item should give you a shiver down your spine. Item from Activist Post. Okay? I hear the music creeping up. I will hold the item. We'll hit it when we come back. My friends, another commercial break. More Real Truth ahead. Stick around.
An emergency preparedness plan for your home, car, school, and office is a must. Knowing how to store water safely, survive extreme temperature changes, provide reliable shelter, first aid, and sanitation is critical. Knowing where to get the best lights, radios, and other supplies is easy. Ferris Survival, located at 3366 South Broadway, is a professional, reputable, full-service business providing realistic preparedness supplies at affordable prices. Stop by, go online, or call 303-781-0343, 866-781-0343. Ladies, this is Danny Golden informing you that heart attacks in women can be different than heart attacks in men. Women having heart attacks will experience nausea, vomiting, indigestion, shortness of breath, or simply sudden and extreme fatigue, but no chest pain. Get emergency medical help and call 911 immediately if you are experiencing any of these symptoms. Pain, pressure, burning or squeezing in the chest, jaw, shoulders, back, or arms that last more than 5 to 10 minutes. Unexplained shortness of breath lasting more than 5 to 10 minutes. Sudden severe nausea, nausea, vomiting, or indigestion, sudden sweating for no reason, sudden unexplained extreme fatigue, loss of consciousness or fainting, or sudden unexplained panicky feeling of doom. The key, ladies, is to listen to your body, follow your instincts, and if you experience symptoms that are disturbing to you in any way, or even remotely related to your heart, get yourself checked out right away. If your doctor brushes you off, that's a sign you need a new doctor, one who will actually do what is necessary to get to the bottom of your symptoms.
He was in the world, and the world was made through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. But as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of God, to those who believe in his name, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 10 through 13.
Welcome back to Real Truth. Jews worldwide are now in the midst of the 10 days of repentance, or in Hebrew, tshuva, repentance. We apologize for the things we've done wrong. Now, if you're someone who voted for Barack Obama, man, have you got tshuva to be doing. Here are several of those people right now in this video. I did put it on my Facebook page several days ago. You may find it there. You'll definitely find it on YouTube. The headline, The Hope and the Change official movie trailer. People who voted for Barack Obama and now are beating their breasts and doing tshuva, asking for forgiveness. Let's listen.
My entire life, I've voted Democrat.
I'm a lifelong Democrat.
I'm a Democrat. Registered independent.
Independent. Democrat.
Independent. Democrat.
Democrat.
It's just a choice I made in my teens to go Democratic. That's what I thought would be the right choice.
Been in Colorado off and on since 1970.
I live in Florida, Des Moines, Iowa,
Pittsburgh, Gastonia, Northeast Ohio, Virginia.
I really believe in the fall of 08 there would be change.
People were desperate.
I needed some sort of inspiration of hope because I was at a point of my life where I was hopeless.
This was the moment when the rise of Houston began to slow and our planet began to heal.
The man is a very good public speaker.
He's a great speaker.
But that's part of the sale. And he sold us.
Tonight is your answer.
I voted for Obama. I did vote for Barack Obama. My husband, my family, we voted for Barack Obama. It was a good thing. You know, we accomplished what we were hoping to. The person I wanted to win had won.
Let's get this hope and change thing moving.
I don't think that I got what I was expecting.
I pretty much lost all faith in it right there because I watched him pull the exact same show.
I just don't want to listen to it anymore.
The party's over. The smoke is clear.
He didn't come up with any solutions. He didn't make good on any of his promises.
Our credit rating went down.
Taxes are going up. Deficit is going up. Food costs are astronomical. We're spending way too much.
We wanted to change, and we all got full.
I have never been more broke in my life.
It isn't working. It's not working. The hole's only getting bigger.
It's bad.
It's almost like buyer's remorse.
Obama let me down. I don't feel like he's used his time wisely. I just don't feel any change is going to take place.
As he would say it, we're ready for a change.
A lasting job. We're divided.
We've come too far to abandon the change we fought for these past 2 years.
It's going to fall on deaf ears this time.
More down.
I'm a Democrat. I voted for Obama.
This is very big on recovery.
Which is really sad. I just don't think that at all. I'm not voting for President Obama. That much I do know.
Obama's not the right candidate right now.
The website is thehopeandthechange.com. Buyer's remorse. Or as one person said it very simply. Very simply. Even someone from Brooklyn can understand it. He's done a lousy job. And trust me, the more you investigate the life of Barack Obama, the more you realize that he's done a lousy job is the nicest thing you can say about the guy. Item from the Activist Post. A family in Beach Park, Illinois underwent a strange series of events after a mysterious package allegedly containing marijuana was delivered to their home. A mere 10 minutes after the package was delivered, which was not actually addressed to anyone in the family, police broke down the front door and confronted the family with guns drawn. Unfortunately, police raiding the wrong home is far from rare, although I guess we can be grateful that no one was killed in the botched drug raid that actually never turned up anything illicit. The Lake County News-Sun reported that Paul Brown, a 58-year-old architect, was in the basement of his home when a, quote, huge noise drew him upstairs, where he was swiftly met with a gun in the face, unquote. And so the question must be asked. Did these cops accidentally break into these poor people's homes? Or did they want to break into the home, and so they sent this package in advance to give them a reason to do so? You got to ask that question. I don't know the answer. I'm wondering. I hope someone in authority actually finds an answer to that question, because it's a very disturbing question. Item from the Activist Post. The Fraser Institute's annual Economic Freedom of the World 2012 report highlights the sharp decline of the American economy as it fell to 19th from the number 2 position it held just 12 years ago. The report bluntly illustrates the seriousness of the findings. The U.S. decline is even more startling given that globally the average economic freedom score rose slightly to 6.83 in 2010, the most recent year available. Global levels of economic freedom reached their lowest level in nearly 3 decades, with a score of 6.79 back in 2009. As we look to what might have caused such a precipitous decline, we have to acknowledge 9/11, the subsequent war on terror, and a culture of corporate and banking corruption never before seen in the history of the world. Item from, I believe this is InfoWars. Nevada is supposedly one of those states with a smart meter opt-out policy. On the ground, however, the reality is a little different. Mona Orkelis lives in the mountains outside Las Vegas, where she works in real estate. Like many Americans, she's been impacted by the downturn in the economy and is struggling to make ends meet. Mona was born in the U.S. and raised by an Egyptian-Greek family. She always pays her bills on time and makes protecting her health a priority. For years, Mona worked on humanitarian projects, blah, blah, blah. The story starts with the Nevada Energy installing a smart meter on Mona's bedroom wall in January without permission, or even so much as a few days' notice. Mona reports she does not have any prior history of medical conditions. Shortly after NV Energy installed the smart meter, she started noticing an increase in her heart rate first thing in the morning and an elevated blood pressure. She felt fatigued and started having headaches. A low grinding sound had started when the meter was installed, and this made it difficult for Mona to sleep or even be in her home during the day. She tried different things to get rid of the symptoms. Nothing worked. Finally, it dawned on her the only thing that had changed in her life was the meter. When she started researching the issue, she realized she was not alone. Others were experiencing the same annoying humming, grinding sound, the same adverse health effects, and linking it to recent smart meter installations. She has amassed a whole binder of studies about the negative effects of EMFs on health. My friends, there's a video that goes with this report. You'll find it online. Eventually, the state of Nevada sent people to take out the meter, and guess what? Just by coincidence, they also completely turned off her electricity. That'll teach her to want to live her own life. Item from the Activist Post. We'll hit it when we come back. We've got one more break, and then we'll finish things up. This is Real Truth.
Just a good old boy.
Hi, I'm Eric Cedarstrom. For over a decade, I've been the CEO, shipping clerk, and janitor of the Patriot Trading Group. And in that time, I've made friends with tens of thousands of like-minded individuals all over this country, most like me, trying to raise a family, run a business, and make sense out of a world gone mad. I'm proud of the fact that through stock bubbles, housing bubbles, and financial chaos, our customers are prospering and doing very well. By keeping our prices fair and our service fast, we find that 80% of our customers not only reorder, but they tell their friends. Don't be fooled by hype and high pressure. Do business with a company you can trust. Call the Patriot Trading Group at 1-800-951-0592 or check out our website at allamericangold.com. You'll be treated with honesty and respect. You have my word on it. I'm Eric Cedarstrom, CEO, shipping clerk, and janitor.
Making their way the only way they know how.
The Lord brings the counsel of the nations to nothing. He makes the plans of the peoples of no effect. The counsel of the Lord stands forever, the plans of his heart to all generations. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, the people he has chosen as his own inheritance. Psalm 33, verses 10 through 12.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. This is the America News Network.
Welcome back to Real Truth. Item from the Activist Post. If anyone has any doubt as to whether or not the United States has earned the designation of police state, one need only look at the case of 24-year-old Leah Lynn Plant, a Portland woman whose home was recently raided by paramilitary police in search of ordinary household items, including, quote, anarchist literature, unquote. Yeah, there is no doubt about the moniker police state and that it applies to us. By the way, I'll point out to you that if Leah Lynn Plant had said to the police, wait, you can't come in here, this is my house, she would have been guilty of a crime and had her butt thrown in jail. Welcome to the police state of America. Item from The Guardian. Muslim civil rights groups and community organizations have condemned a series of anti-Islamic advertisements that will be appearing. Stop! Who says they're anti-Islamic? Muslim civil rights groups are alleging that, but The Guardian, which is a publication, is taking it upon itself to designate them as anti-Islamic, simply by virtue of saying so in the first paragraph. Piss poor journalism. The ads had initially been rejected by the city's Metropolitan Transportation Authority. This is in New York City subway stations, but were later allowed after a legal appeal ruled them to be expressions of free speech. One ad reads, quote, in any war between the civilized man and the savage, support the civilized man. Support Israel. Defeat jihad, unquote. Linder Sarsour, the executive director of the Arab American Association, says, you're talking about people like me being called a savage. It's all bubbling up. I know there's freedom of speech, but with freedom of speech comes responsibility. This promotes hate, unquote. Wrong, Linda. I wish someone in your life had promoted intelligence. The ad says that the savages are those who are committing acts of jihad. Interesting that an Arab American would hear the word savage and think, that's me. If you don't want jihad, then it doesn't apply to you. Linda, feel free to shut up. Item from Raw Story. Republican presidential nominee Mitt Romney used the slur illegal aliens on Wednesday while telling us stop. What is a slur about the phrase illegal aliens? Raw Story has just called it a slur. Now, you know, I love Raw Story. Why is illegal aliens a slur? If you're from another country and you're here illegally, you're an illegal alien. It's not a slur. Anyway, let's get past that. Mitt Romney used the phrase illegal aliens on Monday while telling a Hispanic audience that he would, quote, not round up undocumented immigrants if he's elected in November. Stop. Why are we going to elect him in November if he's not going to visit justice upon those who break the law? If we have illegal aliens, I've been slurring again. If we have illegal aliens in the country, you bet your ass I want the federal government rounding them up and getting the hell rid of them. And if he's not going to enforce that law, then how does he make a case for enforcing any law? What if I don't want to pay my taxes? What if I feel like shooting somebody? Can I? All I need is Mitt Romney to say they're not going to enforce it. It's part of the unraveling of our society. Once you say, this guy's a criminal and I'm not going to do anything to him, you're finished. It's just a matter of time. illegal alien slur or not need to go. Is that really, my friends, is it really a revolutionary idea? Is it really? And if it is, what the hell does it say about what's happened in this country? We're done for the week. More Real Truth on Monday. My friends, I hope you'll be back then. I also hope that you will stay safe, stay healthy, and stay angry.